Today we are back with Sara Stamp. Today, let me start that off so differently. Okay. Today I am really happy to bring you a new friend of mine, Sara Stamp. This is one of our Live Bravely episodes. And when we get into the meat of the interview, you will find out exactly why it's in our Live Bravely segment. But Sara is a working mom of two. She has a gorgeous daughter, Layla, who is 4, and her little boy, Daniel. By day, she manages data conversions for a benefits consulting firm, and by night, she runs a network marketing business with Young Living Essential Oils, which I love essential oils. She's also an aspiring writer, which I believe is how we connected.
It is,
Yes,
yeah.
and she blogs about her family's journey through the world of childhood brain cancer at laylastrong.org. Being a working mom, she's always prided herself on being a fantastic multitasker. And as we're going to talk about throughout the interview, it took her child being diagnosed with brain cancer twice to realize that life is more about how much you're getting done and more than what you're just getting done in a day. And yes, so I'm happy to talk to you. I'm sad about the topic, but we will definitely share your funding links. She's got a Layla Rose GoFundMe and a Layla Rose Caring Bridge. We're going to totally put those in the show notes so that people can support. But I want to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, your journey, because you are living a mom's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
And I hope I can make it through this without crying.
Me too. I probably won't, so don't worry.
But I mean, this is life, the ups, the downs, the sucky, the wonderful, the all of that. But most importantly, I want to make sure that we talk about how people can help you, in particular with the fundraiser that you guys are doing, the golf tournament. So
Yeah.
let's just start back with you and to tell us a little bit more about you and your beautiful daughter.
Um, for the past 16 years or so, I have worked for a benefits consulting firm doing all sorts of things, but mainly data conversions and sort of a techie job, and always really enjoyed doing that. Felt I was really good at it. And I mentioned somewhere along the way, I decided that that wasn't enough. So I needed to add on a little more, and I did started a network marketing business with Young Living Essential Oils, and that was something that our family was using and really loved anyway, so it was a natural fit. And I really like sharing that with people and
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the differences that they can make. But gosh, it's strange to say it's been a year, almost a year. So in October of 2016, October 18th exactly, we were in the emergency room with our daughter, who had just turned 4, and she had been having some really strange symptoms over a course of 4 or 5 days, vomiting, complaining of headaches on and off. And towards the last day before we actually went to the emergency room, I noticed that her walking was a little bit off. It was sort of like walking with a little drunk person. And it was really subtle. And so I thought I was just going crazy because I was a little bit paranoid and focusing on the vomiting and the headaches. And of course, Dr. Google, is
Yeah.
telling me all these things. So I took her to the pediatrician, and he says, well, I think she's vomiting because she's maybe got some nasal congestion and it's upsetting her stomach. And, here's some Zofran that will help with the nausea. And so we tried that, and it didn't work. And I called him back that afternoon, and I told him, I said, I'm telling you, something is wrong with her. I don't know what it is, but it's not a sinus infection.
Yeah.
So he said, if she is still vomiting in the morning, then if you want to take her to the emergency room, then you should do that. And I was like, okay, I will. So that's how we ended up there. And as I'm telling all this to the doctor that's at the emergency room, she kind of gets this look on her face, and she goes, okay, well, we're going to do a CT scan. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I guess they're going to look at her head or her whole body is what I'm thinking, scan her whole body. And so we did that, and we're waiting. And during that time, praise the Lord, her dad came up to join us, my husband, because he wasn't there with us at the beginning. So he came, and we're sitting in the little room. Layla's not feeling very well, but she's just playing on the iPad or, hanging out. The doctor comes back in. She goes, I don't know how to tell you this, but we found a mass in your daughter's brain. And of course, we're just both like, what?
Yeah.
Where? Or, what does that mean? And they luckily had already started a whole series of events that we didn't have to think about or do anything. She said, they're going to transport you to the children's hospital downtown. We were at a satellite ER in North Dallas. And so they're going to come and take you by ambulance. They're going to take you to the emergency room there. And the neurology team is already going to be waiting for you. They know what's going on, and they're going to take it from there. So of course, as we're waiting for transport, her father and I are making phone calls and trying to make arrangements for our younger child. He was at daycare, making sure someone was going to pick him up and take care of him, and calling friends. And just the rest of that day was a whirlwind. I mean, from the time we got there up to the ICU, and all sorts of doctors and fellows and nurses and signing papers, and just really a whirlwind. And less than 24 hours from the time that they found it, she was having brain surgery to remove that tumor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot to process in 24 hours.
It was really that whole 2-week period, from the time she had surgery to when we got home. It felt like a month.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So with her particular, can you tell us about the type of cancer and what that meant?
So she was diagnosed with a type of brain cancer, sorry about that, called medulloblastoma. And it's the most common type of brain cancer in kids, which is just mind-boggling to me. You think of it as being something rare, but it's really becoming more and more frequent, and they're seeing it more and more. I think one of the child life specialists told us that they see probably 3 kids a month just at the Dallas Children's Hospital with this diagnosis. And so to me, that's a lot.
Yes, because that's just Dallas and the surrounding areas. Oh my goodness.
So it's a tumor that grows right in between your 2 lobes, in the back of your brain, the posterior fossa area. And so we were lucky that they were able to remove the whole tumor. They, at the same time, do a spinal tap, and they check the spinal fluid. And what they're looking for is cells floating around, cancer cells.
Mm-hmm.
That was clear, which all of that was very positive. The fact that they, from what they could see, had gotten all of the tumor. It was definitely going to be a long road of chemotherapy and radiation. But we were very optimistic about her prognosis, and so was her doctor. And so right before Thanksgiving, we started a high-dose 16-week process of chemotherapy. And then once we completed that in March, she did 30 days of focal radiation just to that section of the brain. And throughout that process, they have done periodic MRIs and spinal taps, checking and rechecking, and everything had remained clear. So that was always good news for us. Again, feeling very confident. And once she finished radiation in May, she had another MRI on May 31st. And as they call us back to go check on her, because she's sedated for the whole MRI, we go in and we go to the bay, and she's not there. And I looked at my husband and I said, this is not right. Something's wrong. And he's, of course, trying to tell me don't worry, calm down, it's fine. And the nurse says, the doctor will be be right in. So of course we're both like, okay, yeah, that's not good. So we're waiting, and he comes in, and you could tell by the look on his face. He said, "I'm so sorry. I don't have good news, but she has new spots." I don't know if that's the word he used, but new areas in the spine and in the brain as well. It didn't reoccur in the same spot. Her first tumor was about the size of a golf ball or so. So pretty large. And her new spots are very small. We're talking millimeters, 2-3 millimeters, about 3 in her brain and several in her spine. And so right when we thought we were getting to the maintenance portion and the hard stuff was over, we were really thrust back into almost square one, starting over. What's the new protocol going to be? Where do we go from here? And so that's where we have been over the past 7 or 8 weeks.
Oh my goodness! So this is new, because it's only July, so this is a new development.
It is. It's very new, and it was unexpected. I think everyone who's been treating her was very surprised to see that, and it did take us probably about a week to really focus and come to terms with it, and get back to a spot where we could be like, okay, this is where we are now, and this is the plan to go forward. And put on your parent face
exactly.
and help her through that, because being 4.5, she really has no idea about what's going on. I mean, she's not old enough to understand what cancer is, and she knows that she was sick and we had to stay at the hospital a lot and do a lot of hard things. Which she is the bravest little girl I've ever met. And so having to tell her that, I'm sorry, we're going to have to do some of these things again, that was probably the hardest part, because she was ready to be done and back to life as normal.
I mean, I have a 5-year-old. I can't even imagine going through this process, and I can't imagine what it is like for you on a daily basis, balancing work and family and another child and all of these things. How are you guys making it through?
So the first go round, it was really divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. I would mostly be at the hospital with Layla. My husband would be at home with our son, taking care of him. We both were still working during that time. I took a short 6-week period of leave of absence when she was first diagnosed, but then went back to work in December. And thankfully, my job has always been remote, so I was able to work. But it was really hard to try to focus on work while we were at the hospital, because she had needs that needed to be met. She was bored. She wasn't in school. Right. It was really hard on everybody. And so going back and thinking about that time and not knowing exactly what this next round of chemo was going to look like, I told my husband, I said, I can't do that. I can't work this time and do that at the same and take care of her. I mean, she needs my focus. This is different. This is bigger. It's a relapse. It's a bigger deal. As if cancer isn't a big enough deal. Right. It's an even bigger deal now. And so this summer, I am actually taking a little bit of a sabbatical and away from work, away from pretty much everything. And we've kept our kids home this summer. Usually they would be in summer camps or some sort of childcare, keeping them home and just doing fun things as much as she can. And on most days she's feeling pretty good. But some days right after her outpatient chemo, she doesn't feel very good or she's more tired. And so we hang out at home. We maybe go to her grandparents' house or see a friend. We have a little bit more flexibility this time around. She's not as compromised with her immune system. So that is one thing we're really grateful for, that she's able to continue to do some fun things this summer.
That's good. And that you're
Yeah.
able to make some good memories, which we hope she'll be looking at in 25 years and
Yes.
laughing about.
We fully plan that she will still be here in 25
Yes,
years. We do
absolutely.
believe that.
If you're comfortable talking about it, just for an educational purpose and for other people who may be going through something like this, what is the prognosis and what is the plan this time around?
So her oncologist recommended a certain protocol. It's 3 drugs, and it's a 4-week cycle where she goes every other week. So she's getting chemo twice in a month, and we just started the second cycle. And then once that's complete on July 24th, she'll have another MRI. And so we'll be able to tell at that point, are they shrinking? Are they staying the same? Are there more? What does it look like? Of course, our prayer is that they're gone and her spinal fluid is clear. And that will be a little bit easier of a choice.
Yes.
For next steps. If it's not, then there are a couple different options. We may make the choice to explore some trials. There are several around the country, so it might mean us traveling to another hospital, another city, which is a really hard choice for us to make because all of our support system is here in the Dallas area. But we know that whatever it is, we'll make it work, and we'll go as a family and do whatever it is that we need to do.
So I want to talk about too, because, we see, especially with social media these days, we see a lot of people doing GoFundMes and doing, reaching out for money and things like that. I'd like you to talk to us about that, what your needs are, and then we'll get into the golf tournament and what that's all about. But what is it? We try to stay away from politics as much as possible, but I think this is something that is really important to parents, and that is insurance and how our system impacts families. And that I just asked you like 45 questions in one little thing there, but basically what I want to know about and what I think it's important to educate people about is how this impacts you and how families survive through it financially.
Some days I'm not sure how other people survive, especially if they don't have a good support system and close family and friends. And to tell you the truth, starting a GoFundMe was not something that ever even crossed my mind. I mean, it just started by my best friend. And I mean, the day that we found out Layla was diagnosed, it was out there and she was putting out in social media. And her initial thought was, let's just make sure we have enough to cover their deductible and their out-of-pocket expenses.
Right.
Because ironically, we had made a conscious choice to choose the less expensive, higher deductible option with an HSA, because all of that was still less expensive than going for the lower deductible option, because we were generally healthy people.
Right.
Our kids had well visits. They weren't in the doctor's office being sick. No one has any sort of chronic conditions. So we did have a higher deductible, but I mean, within 24 hours, people we didn't even know were just logging on and donating $25, $50. And it's amazing the power of social media and the reach that you can get. I mean, something we wouldn't have ever imagined needing. And God really met that need. And it's something we didn't have to think about. We didn't have to worry about at all. And that took a lot of pressure off of us. But even with insurance, throughout the process, we have run into situations where insurance won't cover things. Before she relapsed, our plan was to do a maintenance chemo, and one of the drugs that she was going to have to take at home was not going to be covered. And the reason was it was technically a drug that they give through an IV, but they recompound it for oral consumption. And for whatever reason, the insurance wouldn't cover that. And so we weren't really sure how we were going to pay for it. We just knew it would work out. We were going to get it. I mean, that wasn't going to stop us from
Right.
having it for her. And at the hospital, and I'm sure most hospitals have social workers and caseworkers, and their whole job is to search out funding through grants, through foundations, and that's exactly what they did for us. And we were able to get the cost of that covered. And through this second protocol, one of the drugs, again, is not covered, or it wasn't at the beginning. They considered it not a life-threatening situation.
What?
Is the wording that came in the letter. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so our oncologist told us, he said, don't worry. He said, you'll appeal, we will appeal, and they'll eventually approve it. It's just a colossal waste of time.
And time isn't something you have in a situation like this.
So we did have to move forward without their approval, of course, with the drug. We weren't going to wait the 2-week waiting period that they were asking for. So we're still waiting for it to be approved. And it's just little things like that. You know, parents don't need that added stress. We know now that since she has had cancer, this is always going to be a pre-existing condition for her.
Yes.
And so that side of the politics has become a lot more important to us.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people who don't have a sick child or don't have a chronic condition, they don't really understand the magnitude of that and how important it is to make sure that people are not declined coverage because of a pre-existing condition.
Yes.
Especially children. I mean, adults are just as important, but I think children too. And so that's something we're watching closely and we care deeply about.
I'm sure.
And just making sure that she always has coverage. She can never have that lapse. So that's, it's something we never thought about before, and you usually don't until you're stuck right in the middle of it.
Of course not. Well, and I shared with you in our personal exchanges about our experience, and I had a daughter in the NICU for 12 weeks, which is a completely different situation. I understand, and I'm not making light of your situation at all.
No, I know.
But the way I want to tie that in is that not only do you have extreme medical expenses and how fast they add up. I mean, we had over $1 million in bills within a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Which thankfully we had a good insurance plan there. But I mean, you think about the fact that if you're on a high deductible, that's like $8,000 off the bat that you have to figure out, depending on where yours is, you have to figure out how to pay that back. And, but it's all the other little things that people don't think about. It's the gas to and from the hospital.
Yeah.
It's the how to pay for the meals that you're eating when you're in the hospital or to and from the hospital. It's childcare for your other child if you have to pay for someone to watch him while you're at these things. It's so many things. If you have to go out of state, your travel and hotels, and you've taken time off of work, so now you've lost your income. I mean, there's so many things that people have to consider. And I guess my plea would be as you see these GoFundMe's come across your social media, and it's for a child or any kind of medical thing. I mean, there's so much more for it. And I hope that the generosity continues, because I know the amount of financial hardship that having a child in the hospital placed on us.
And again, it's been amazing. I did not think our friend wanted to do the GoFundMe again, and just did it. Like, she knew if she asked, I would probably say no. So she just started it. And I just thought, there's no way that people are going to do this twice.
Right.
We've asked so much and they've given so much the first time, and I've still been amazed. And I mean, it truly has been an answer to prayer, with me taking off work and, just not knowing where are we going to find that extra money. We've always been a 2-income household. We don't live extravagant lives or anything like that, but, we do have to make adjustments, and we just trusted that needs would be met as they're needed, and they absolutely have been. And someday we know that we'll return the favor to someone else, and that's what we're working on for the golf tournament.
And let's talk about that because that was going to be my next question. So, how did that come about? And is that for broader research as well, or is this a fundraiser for your family's needs? Or tell us the details about the fundraising element, and then we'll talk about the details of the tournament.
Okay. So we knew when Layla was diagnosed that we wanted to do something. And we were like, we have to either create a foundation or we have to do more for people who don't have the support system that we have. And on top of that, there has to be better research. There has to be better treatments,
better drugs, and
better drugs, things that do not leave our kids so debilitated. And we had pondered it, and we're looking into getting our own 501c3. And just randomly, another mom whose son lost his battle with medulloblastoma back in 2010. She contacted me. She had seen a post in a Facebook support group that I posted. And we were actually at the hospital for our last inpatient stay. And she's like, I'm going to be at the hospital today. Can I come see you? I was like, sure. come on over, strange lady. But she was so terrific. And, Layla really just liked her a lot. And, we talked, and she said, let's see what we can do, or I would love to help you as you're getting started. And so we kept in contact, and starting your own foundation and having that tax exempt status, I mean, it's a very long process, and you definitely need a lawyer, and that can cost money, and it can take 6 or 7 months, if not longer, to get approved. And we knew we wanted to have people be able to start contributing and making a difference sooner than that.
Right.
So we talked to our friend at the Carson Leslie Foundation, and they said, just come join us, come be part of us, and we will have Carson Leslie Foundation with Layla Strong, and that's what we call our foundation, Layla Strong. So we're actually part of Carson Leslie Foundation. We use their 501c3, all the funds that we raise through our laylastrong.org website go to that foundation, and they are fully focused on research funding. And I could go into so many details, but I would just recommend people go to carsonlesliefoundation.org, read about what they're doing. They have made so much headway in the past 5 or 6 years. They have the attention of congressmen and people who really are making a difference and able to make a difference. Their board of directors has some pretty big heavy hitters on it. Again, people who have influence and can make a difference. And so we just thought that was a much better fit than us trying to start and be an island on our own and do everything from scratch. Let's just partner. We have the same goals. And so that's why we joined forces with them.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Very smart move. So then the golf tournament, so all the funding will go into that foundation, all the funds raised. And when is that? Where is it? How can people get involved?
It is July 31st. So it'll be nice and hot here in North Texas. It's at Gentle Creek Golf Club. That's in Prosper. So far north Dallas, pretty even far from where we live. But it's a beautiful course. We've got almost a full field now. We did technically close registration just for the sponsorships, but we can probably sneak a few people in if we needed to. But at this point, if people still want to help and want to donate, you can go to laylastrong.org and do a general donation on the website. And again, it all goes to the foundation, and it will all be earmarked as Layla Strong. So we know the difference, with the funds that we have raised for them. And they're so great. They let us choose the percentage that we want to go to research versus to patient care. So another thing that was really important to us is helping the parents and the families that have immediate needs.
Right.
So, funding and research is great. Everybody wants a cure, but we've got to do something to help the parents that are battling this right now alongside us. And so they let us take a percentage of that to be able to do some of those things with that money as well. So we're very, very excited.
It's a lot of work, and that's really, really commendable that you guys are throwing so much energy and effort behind helping others while going through your own situation.
Yes, we were hoping we would not be going through this situation at this point, but there was just more left to be done, more to our story to be written, and so we are still here, and we'll get to see the end eventually. We just don't know exactly how that looks right now.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about Layla. How is she doing through this second round of treatment?
She's doing pretty well. It helps that it's all outpatient, so we don't have any long stays at the hospital. Her immune system isn't really impacted like it was before, so we can go and do things and have fun experiences together as a family, which we're really taking advantage of this summer, and doing a lot of traveling, going to the beach, going to the lake, and just going swimming on a random weekday night, things that we might not normally do if we were in a regular routine. And I think that's one of the things that we have learned over the past 9 or 10 months is that it's not about how much you're doing or how productive you're being. It really is so important to be present with your kids and, just enjoy the time that you have together, because they're only little for a short amount of time. And, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I mean, that's, one of our hashtags that we always use when we post photos to our Facebook site or Twitter or Instagram is Live Life Today, because that's all we have.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's so easy to get caught up in the craziness of day to day and forget that.
Yeah, and I'm definitely guilty of that. Yeah, definitely guilty of that. Too many times saying, someone's calling me, "Hey, mommy, look at this." Just too often saying, "Hold on, just 1 second." Instead of really focusing and putting my phone down or stopping what I'm doing and looking them in the face and saying, "What, honey? Show mommy."
What kind of stuff does Layla like? Is she into princesses or?
Oh yes, all the princesses. She really loves Moana right now, or she calls it Mulana. Or she's never seen Mulan, but I don't know, for some reason she mixes the two together. She loves My Little Pony, and she likes playing with her brother. They get along pretty well for at least, 20-minute stretches before somebody steals something out of someone else's hand or, hits or
they're normal. They're totally normal.
2 and 4-year-old things. She really likes playing with her brother, and he adores her, follows her wherever she goes, and just wants to do everything that she does. They're real cute together.
Well, I know this is a really, really, really stressful time for your family, and I hope that you guys get some reprieve soon and that you can enjoy some nice, relaxing time, and hopefully after the golf tournament. How much longer does she have on this round of treatments?
So she goes in next Tuesday for her last dose, and then the following Monday, the 24th, I think that's right, is when she has her next MRI and spinal tap. And so at that point, we'll know, whether or not we're making some progress or if there's more. She's still, we feel really positive because throughout this whole second part, she has been asymptomatic. She has not been showing any signs, that the tumors are growing, because if they were, we would see physical symptoms like numbness and probably more vomiting. So she's just having like regular chemo vomiting, not
Yeah.
not anything that we were real concerned about. So we're taking that as a positive sign and just always keeping that in mind. But yeah, once we get those results back on the 24th, then we'll be able to make some more decisions about if we're going to keep doing what we're doing, or if we want to go somewhere and try something else, or more radiation, which really is kind of a last resort in our opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
All right. Tell us one more time the website to direct people to help you guys out.
So to make a general donation to the Carson Leslie Foundation in care of Layla Strong, you can go to laylastrong.org.
Mm-hmm.
To help support us personally, which we would also love with medical bills and
Yes.
taking time off work. There is a GoFundMe, and I think if you search Layla Stamp, it's Layla, just like the Eric Clapton song, and stamp like a postage stamp. I think if you search on that, it'll come up. I don't know the link off the top of my head, but it's a real cute picture of her, I think, in her Pep Squad uniform. That may have been the original one, but yeah, we are happy to accept any sort. If you have something else in your heart that you want to give, or another foundation that you feel really strongly to, please do that. I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be to us. There are tons and tons of kids out there that are going through this, and families that need support. So it's not just us. We want to make sure that everybody's taken care of.
Well, that's a really, really kind mission. And we will make sure all of those links are posted and available for people to help with. But I know this is super difficult for you because you guys are right back in the thick of it again. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And
Sure.
hopefully we can send some support your way. If nothing else, you have all of our thoughts and prayers.
We will
And
take them, all of them.
and if we have any random, just like millionaires listening to our podcast, please.
Yes, please. That would be great.
Got a great place for you to spend some money. So.
That's right. And she has a Facebook page. You can just search Layla
Yay.
Strong.
Okay.
I think our actual sign is @Stamp Cancer.
Okay.
Because our slogan is Stamp Out Cancer, but
Mm-hmm.
that was already taken. So @Stamp Cancer, and you'll see Layla Strong. So feel free to follow us on there. We post updates, and of course, as soon as we know the results from her MRI and how all that looks, we'll be telling everyone who is interested and has been praying for us. So that's a great way to follow up and keep up with her.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. And we're praying for you and Layla.
Thank you. I appreciate it.